The United States is planning to build a nuclear reactor on the moon. Joining us now to discuss all about this is Rick Fisher, Senior Fellow on Asian Military Affairs at the International Assessment and Strategy Center. Rick has written extensively about the U.S.'s second race to the moon with China. Good afternoon, Rick. It's always great to see you. So first question I have is, why is the U.S. prioritizing this now? What is it trying to achieve? Why put a reactor on the moon?
Two reasons, Don. First, our astronauts are going to need power. The moon rotates. The lunar night actually lasts almost 8 days. And in that time, they won't be able to gather any solar power. So a nuclear reactor is very necessary in order to sustain our astronauts on the moon. And the second reason is geopolitical. A nuclear power plant allows you to declare a kind of exclusion zone. It's sort of, okay, this is kind of your territory. And this is also why Russia and China are racing to develop a lunar nuclear power station as well.
So correct me if I'm wrong on this. I don't know if this is the correct line of thinking, but is this in a way shifting the perception of the moon from a place to visit temporarily to a place of long-term operations?
Absolutely. Both China, Russia, and the United States are planning for basically permanent settlements on the moon. Moon bases, multiple moon bases, and these will be essential as we plan our projection to Mars.
Wow, what is the long-term mission in terms of space, the next frontier? What is the overall vision here for the United States?
Well, for China, the idea is if you control access to the moon and control access to Mars, you can reinforce political hegemony on Earth. For the United States, the idea is defending and preserving our access to the moon and Mars by building settlements there, making claims for areas that we control, and hopefully convincing China and Russia to work with us peacefully. But that's not guaranteed.
Specifically, what does America have to gain by being first to have nuclear power on the moon, Rick?
What we gain is the confidence of all of our partners, 55 members of the Artemis Accords coalition, to join us in exploring and populating the moon and then Mars. We gain, of course, the prestige of remaining a leader in space, and we also get something of a leverage to convince China to go to the moon in peace.
So as you see it, what are some of the hurdles to overcome right now in this project? Are there any safety concerns of placing nuclear reactors on the moon?
Well, yes, one very large concern, and this is the design of the Chinese moon lander. It essentially comes in 2 stages. The manned cabin that lands on the moon, and then a propulsion stage, which you can see on the bottom of the manned moon lander. The propulsion stage takes the lander into lunar orbit and then gets it close to the moon. When it gets close enough, the propulsion stage detaches and then crashes into the moon. And I think you can see this is where the problem lies. The propulsion stage could first land on a Chinese or Russian nuclear power station, but if it's uncontrolled, it could land on ours as well.
So one point you brought up earlier that I found interesting is you brought up the idea of perhaps humans being on Mars or something similar to that. My question is, if nuclear power on the moon succeeds, what does that mean for humanity's broader ambitions in space?
Well, if it's successful and it works, that bodes very well for the human projection to the moon and then to Mars. We're going to need nuclear power until something else can adequately replace it. Nuclear power is reliable. The fuel lasts for a long time. It doesn't require access to the sun in order to obtain power.
So you wrote an article on the Epoch Times called "Don't Lose the Race Back to the Moon." Can you reiterate that point again? Why does the race back to the moon matter so much for the United States right now?
Well, it matters in order for the United States to maintain the leadership of the free world in its projection to the moon and beyond. That's of tremendous importance. But it's also important to get there first, to have at least that level of political leverage to convince China, whose space program is controlled by its People's Liberation Army, its military, to come to the moon in peace. Can we do so? I'm not sure, but we have to try.
Talk to us about the intersection of national security and space, as well as in the context of geopolitical competition.
They're intertwined, exactly. And I believe President Trump understands this, which is why he revived the American moon program that the Obama administration had canceled during his first term. He's sustaining the moon program and is looking to Mars. President Trump understands the geopolitics of space.
Can you paint a picture for us as to what would happen if the United States didn't win that race and China won the race back to the moon, for example?
Well, China would have a very powerful propaganda point. But if the United States recovered by getting to the moon soon afterwards, within a year or two, then the political damage may not be that great. The United States could have an early advantage in that our moon landers can carry much more cargo to the moon, and we can perhaps accelerate the construction of our lunar bases.
Okay, one final question, Rick. How much of a lead does the United States have right now over China, and how can the U.S. maintain that lead?
Well, if we maintain our currently acknowledged schedule, we may only have about a 2.5 year lead over the Chinese. But if our moon landers in development by the SpaceX Corporation and the Blue Origin Corporation are delayed or not successful, then that spells trouble for the United States. The Chinese are working with a much smaller, simpler moon lander, simpler technology, and they could get there first.
Well, okay, Rick, thank you for your time today. It was good to see you.
Thank you, sir.
Polish authorities